Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray. Discipline, discipline, discipline. A term that brings out different associations depending on who you are and how you grew up. In this video, I'll go into the definitions of discipline, the trouble of getting disciplined in the modern world, and I'm gonna also give you some solutions to work with. Let me simplify it for you with a discipline definition from the world of martial arts. Discipline is preferring what will be to what is now. And by that, I mean understanding that we are going to receive something that's even better down the line instead of preferring some less probably or less beneficial thing right now. For example, preferring to eat healthy now to enjoy longevity, preferring to wake up at 6 a.m. and get some exercise than sleeping in, and of course, the list goes on. For some people, discipline may be a word that's associated with bad behavior. For example, during childhood, many adults recall being physically punished as a form of discipline. Others associate discipline with being mannered or, having that straight back and good manners. And the rest of us probably think nothing of it, besides something that we would like to have one day. So, which one is it? Is discipline inherently bad for us? Let's find out. Before we begin digging into the subject, let's take a look at the definition of discipline. According to Google Dictionary, the definition of discipline is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of conduct using punishment to correct disobedience. Now, that doesn't sound awfully a lot like the first example I've mentioned before. According to Webster, the definition is approximately the same. It is control gained by enforcing obedience or order. Then we can see that the other definitions, such as order and pattern of behavior, self-control, and this is the one that I like the best, training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties and/or moral character. Our brains are wired in such a way that we end up seeking and repeating the things we find rewarding. It's an important survival mechanism if you think about it. Today, having discipline is even harder than ever before because of the Western lifestyle, which is quick and superficial. Eating makes you feel good. Having sex makes you feel good. Creating something of value makes you feel good. So from an evolutionary standpoint, it's in nature's interest that you will want to continue performing rewarding tasks. The same thing applies to the other side, meaning that things that you will want to avoid. You will want to avoid doing something that makes you feel bad, or simply avoid doing things that aren't rewarding to you in any way. The problem with this is that due to our various upbringings and the environments we grew up in, we may associate things that are inherently good for us with a bad sensation. For example, having manners, playing an instrument, and learning how to cook are great disciplinary skills that should, arguably, be a standard for everyone. But what if acquiring those manners included years of abuse and corporal punishment? That's why we often see people that grew up in a good environment having a completely polarized opinion on discipline and everything associated with it, and sometimes even profoundly scarred from it. Now, that's what we call traumatic disassociation. A negative catalyst pushes a person away from something that can be inherently good due to a bad method. Another significant problem with discipline is that it requires willpower, responsibility, and postponing other rewarding behaviors for a future vision that is more of a pipe dream for many. You can see this example with me, with the fasting or the non-eating discipline, also with sports, meditation, and actually anything that accelerates our continuous spiritual or personal development. Everything like that will require discipline of some sort, some more than others. And usually, the bigger the discipline you choose, the larger the reward. For example, being a monk. Monks take everything out of the equation. They go completely minimalistic. Why? They have been proven scientifically to be the happiest people on the planet. Now, for a Western lifestyle brain, it's indescribable to even understand why they do what they do. But they understand much better than we do. Now, The biggest side effects of life in the modern world are usually stress and distractions. These factors have a huge impact on our mental health. In fact, putting a modern person with modern stress levels into the 1960s would have branded him mentally ill. The average American is exposed to somewhere between 500 to 600 ads per day, many of which include degraded, sexual, and a completely materialistic message. Now, for the average person, trying to build discipline in the midst of all of this is almost equivalent to looking for a needle in a haystack. Not even considering the work week hours, the relationship or the parental stress, the personal expectations that we have from ourselves, and so forth. So, is it hopeless for us? Not at all. There are quite a few things you can do even now, and let's start with acceptance. Number one, true peace must be made with the past in order to have a fresh outlook on discipline. If you are someone who has always associated disciplinary behavior with either punishment or just an overall drag, then forgive yourself for doing so. At the end of the day, the only one who's stopping you from creating a positive new habit is you. Now, why should you continue punishing yourself for something bad that happened to you many years ago, by yourself or by others? Meaning that your past is in your past. If you fail to do something to create a habit in the past, it doesn't mean that you're going to suffer from it again, you know? It's not going to happen today. It's not your reality today. So give yourself a true chance from the start because you deserve it. And here's another way to understand discipline from a more scientific point of view. Number two, neurological pathways. Every time you perform a certain task, think in a certain manner, react in a certain way, new pathways in the brain are always being formed. The more pathways, the more efficient your thought or task becomes, and repetition becomes much easier. Again, this is a double-edged sword. Why? Because the same thing applies to negative thoughts or negative behaviors. Everything you do, you condition yourself towards efficiency on a neurological level. So the one thing you have left to do is put a stop to it if it's a negative one. Eliminating a task or eliminating a behavior that isn't good for you will result in pathway reduction. Remember, your brain is constantly changing, just like your entire body. And in the last decade, there have been many discussions on the brain's ability to always change. It's called neuroplasticity. Unnecessary pathways are shut down when they aren't being used. That's why when we get back to an old habit, we feel kind of rusty, okay? Now, if you have a destructive thought process that you're aware of, change it to a more constructive one, and then you will reduce those pathways. You can think about a time or a place or an event, an experience that has absolutely made you feel incredible, okay? And remember that sensation. Apply that sensation whenever your thought processes aren't in your best interest. And for the positive habit, remember, the new brain pathways are always hard to create in the beginning, okay? But once you form them, you have momentum. So for example, doing a wellness exercise for 5 minutes once a day before you go to sleep will be annoying for the first week, first couple of days. But then it will become an easy to do habit. Why? The pathways are already set and the trigger is set. Number 3, start off with short-term goals. One of the worst things about discipline is the thought that it's going to take a very long time until you get where you want to get. This is a tough position to be in because not many have the vision for the distance. We want to get to the end without struggling in the path. But again, this is something you can acquire along the way. And in order to do so, start off with short-term goals. Short-term goals are a great start because the end point you set yourself is very near, it's very in close proximity to you. For example, if you wash the dishes now, the sink will be clean in 10 minutes. If you make your bed in the morning, you'll have a tidy bed within just a couple of minutes, Short-term goals, quick rewards. Mind you, this is for habit's sake. Nobody's going to argue with you that making the bed isn't rewarding like Friday night drinking. For example, If you want to run a marathon, better start with running a couple of miles and being happy about it. Don't think about the full marathon. You'll drive yourself crazy. Okay? And finally, tip number 4 for discipline. Write a short, success-quick journal. Every day, evening time, take a notepad or just write it on your phone. Make a quick 40-second summary of your day. For example, today I made my bed, I put my clothes away, I finished the project in time, I felt sad during the afternoon for some reason, or anything else that's very, very short. This is going to really help you keep track on any progress and will clarify your goals and your intentions and where you are. Having this type of journal will give you a glimpse of your behavioral patterns. As you become more and more aware of them, you're also going to see where you're creating your own obstacles and where you're actually lying to yourself. You will have a clear picture of what works and what doesn't work, how you felt during the day, and what can be improved. In essence, it's a feedback loop from you to yourself. You can start with up to a minute of writing per day, but if you feel like putting more time into it, be my guest and do whatever works best for you. This, by the way, since it only takes 1 minute, is also a great way to start being disciplined because it's a repetitive task. Finally, remember that true discipline requires work, but efficient work is better than a lot of work, so keep that in mind. With that being said, thank you very much for watching. My name is Maor. Check out my other videos as I post regularly with wide coverage of various topics. And just a reminder, we do have a transformational workshop coming up with me this year in Sedona. Check it out on raymaor.com. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would appreciate it very much as it helps me create more and more content. Good luck and let me know down in the comments about your progress. Namaste, my friends.